Hey guys, VaulSC here. We're going to take a look at another game of infiNity, of course, this time between the operations subsection of Aleph, OSS, and Vanilla Ariadna. This is a rematch against my opponent from last week. I was playing Ikari at the time, now we're switching over to some Aleph for that one. It will be a game of Unmasking. So this is the one where you've got to reveal their decoy HVTs and turn them into designated targets and then kill them. So I'll explain that a little bit more very shortly. But first, we're going to turn our attention to some army lists, because I know that you guys love these army lists. So let's just get straight into it. Now this is one of the lists which I've been working on for a bit and quite excited about, I must add. Because I really feel that this list is quite well-rounded. It's got a lot in there. So we've got I think the best link team that OSS has to offer, and that is the combination of Dakinis, Divas, and CSUs. Obviously, there's a little bit of room to move in exactly the composition that you're going to run with there. But I choose the Diva with MSV2. The amazing thing about that is that if you get surprised by a TO sniper or even a TO missile launcher, you have something to shoot back with, which can be quite effective at winning the face-to-face roll. And if you've kept your teams fairly spread apart, you might not lose the game to that kind of situation, which usually just absolutely crushes link teams. Also, if you're moving your Dakini around the battlefield and people are throwing smoke grenades to defend their friends, well, that only makes your Diva better. And then the Dakini TACbot with the HMG, although that's usually doing most of the work because it has assisted fire, the Diva is actually going to be better odds to hit if you really are up against ODD and whatnot. And of course, there might be forests and things and so on. The CSU, obviously just a really great cheap cheerleader to go in with the link team. Only whip 12, but it's more there just for the cheapness and the ability to have that close range light shotgun in there. Note that Dakinis and Divas don't, well, the Dakinis don't come with pistols, the Diva does, but having the CSU with the light shotgun is a really helpful tool in there. And the more nanopulses, the better in a link team, because you can fire them twice in the reactive turn, right? So I take the HMG Dakini for obvious reasons. We talked about that before. The multi-sniper is something which I'm working with. I like the multi-sniper there because it allows you to outrange certain opponents. Like there might be the occasional HMG or missile launcher even that actually can't hit you very effectively from beyond 40 inches, and your sniper just absolutely crushes that. Also, I run the Aspara in this particular list. I'm still deciding whether to do that or the Bounty Hunter Sniper, but the thing about the Aspara is that there are going to be situations where you do not get first turn and you don't have time to get assisted fire up and running. So having +2 ballistic skill is really useful when it's going to be on the model that is doing all of the heavy lifting and is just the pivotal point of your game plan. So that's why I do that. Also, secondary reason, sometimes you're moving your Dakini out and you are shooting at targets that are not in cover. So in situations like that, having +2 ballistic skill is better than assisted fire, especially if you don't need the shock component of that. And another thing as well is that your hacker might die at some point, or you might move the link team out of range of the repeater and you don't have an opportunity to put up assisted fire. So again, the Apsara is really quite cool. But having the multi-sniper in there means that you can have like the HMG with assisted fire and the multi-sniper with the Ghost Jumper level Z, or the other way around. So it gives you that flexibility. Shuriken Consultant, really just critical for OSS list of this style. You can make your 10 order Alpha Strike with the link team because you start with 11 orders and they're going to strip one away from you. So he's just really crucial. A couple of Probots because you need cheerleaders. Sophitect because you want to revive your Dakinis if they go unconscious. I love the Dazu Fort Observer, such a powerful infiltrator. For this particular game, I'm actually running the Killer Hacker version though, just because you get a bonus of +3 to the whip check, and you can take 2 whip checks per short skill spent when you're revealing the HVTs by pressing the button. Also in Group 2, a couple of flashball spots, the Proxy Hacker and TO Sniper profile that I always go with, and a couple of net rods. Now, unlike my previous game, my opponent has actually sent me his list after the game just because he cares about you, the YouTube viewer, who just can't get enough lists. So let's talk through what he sent to me. Cameronian, 3 line Kazakhs, including a lieutenant, a couple of volunteers, so heaps of cheerleaders here, but they're powering up Uxie McNeil and the Cameronian, the Spetsnaz, and the Foxtrot. So I love this battle group. You've got your equal weighting of cheerleaders and models that are really order hungry. So I love that setup. Group 2, Highlander, nothing wrong with that. Ermendinos, Warcore, Cataran, so tons of irregulars, but you've also got the Krakot, SAS, Grunt, and Chasseurs. I really like this setup. And the Ermendinos are actually specialists, so I think this is a really, really cool Ariadna list. So let's see how the game turns out. Okay, so obligatory photo of where the Dazyu is positioned in hidden deployment before the game begins. Just move my cam up here. This is a look at the battlefield. We'll go and grab some, what I'm going to take, green. So on this side here we've got Ariadna, and on this side here we've got the subsection people. This is the OSS sectorial. So the idea is that you've got to press these 3 consoles in the middle, and they will allow you to reveal your opponent's HVTs. I've got 1 on this side on my side there, and then 2 over here. So he's got to decide, you know, am I bluffing and just making the one in the middle the real one? Am I picking one of the ones which are very carefully concealed behind this big platform here? And if so, which one is it? Just so you and the audience know, this guy here is actually the real HVT. On his side, though, he's got 1 behind this, 1 over here, and another 1 right tucked in there, and he's chosen this one as the real one. In fact, this one is arguably the most exposed one, so he's kind of bluffing at that point. Okay, going through my deployment zone, so you can see the HVTs there, the decoys. I've got the Flash Pulse here, Big Probot here, the Apsara at the back here. We've got a Sophitek nearby. She's got a Yudbot near within a link team. And I've got the main link team set up inside this objective room, which is not actually a real objective room because it's not part of the scenario, but we're using it with the same sort of physical rules. So there's the Apsara there with the Sophitek next to her. There's another Probot behind the wall, and the rest of the link team. I'll have to show you the next photo to get a better view of where they are. So let's have a look. HMG link leader at the front. We've got the sniper right behind it. This a left token here is going to represent the Ghost Jumper level Z. Then we've got the Diva with Spitfire here, the paramedic Dakini back here, and there is a CSU here. I am taking the first turn. My opponent's picked the table side he wants. I've gone for first turn. That's going to allow me to shift the link team anyway, so don't really be too worried about their deployment. The Shukra Consultant Lieutenant up here, but prone, of course, doesn't want to get shot at. You can see my HVT up the center here in the middle of the table. On the left, we have a Netrod going down and another Probot. Of course, this Netrod is the only one to survive. The other Netrod managed to scatter off the table and was destroyed. Just taking a close-up of this Apsara, I really quite like the model, holding its submachine gun in its pose there. Okay, yeah, and my opponent is attempting to send in a hidden deployment, an infiltrating model. Now, initially, I thought this was Uxie McNeil, but it turned out to be an SAS trooper trying to use regular infiltrate with a -3 to get onto my side of the table. He flubs the roll, the SAS trooper has to go back to his side of the board, and then later on in the turn, in the deployment phase, I should say, he does actually put Uxie McNeil here. So just to be clear about what's going on here, he's deploying an SAS, that fails, we go back to my reserve trooper deployment, then when his reserve trooper comes down, it does turn out to be Uxie McNeil, and she does end up in this situation, but I'll take another photo of that shortly. Okay, looking at the Ariadna side of things, so this is the guy that failed the infiltrate check on the left-hand side of the deployment zone. There is an exclusion zone here, so he can't deploy past this particular line with his infiltrators, right? So he's got one on the bridge, he's got another one over here, another one here. They're mostly mines and foxtrots. There's a Spetsnaz there. He's got another veteran Kazakh or somebody. This is the decoy Spetsnaz. The Galwegians here. Got another one of these line Kazakhs. This is the Grunt. Got your Cameronian back here. Medini over here. Another Kazakh or whatever it is. The Warcore up the top of the building. So it's mostly just cheerleaders and camo markers as far as the eye can see. Through the center, Cameronian, Kazakh, Warcore, Imedino, Galwegian, Kazakh, Spetsnaz. I think this was a Chasseur. Can't quite remember. His real HVT is this one here. That's the real one, and this is the wrong one. And this is just another decoy over here. Another camo marker on that side. And carrying on through on the right-hand side. Okay, so he's got a Krakot, which has picked up Total Immunity and Dogged. A couple more camo markers here, as you can see. Another Ermedino, another Kazakh, another one there, Cameroonian, and another cheerleader here. So I think you guys get the picture by now. Okay, and there's the picture of the camo marker on top of the railing. So my reserve trooper is the posthuman, and I'm taking a photo of the hidden deployment of my posthuman. This is really the only spot I could find that had really long fire lanes through the middle area of the table. And of course, if Uxia does come down here, as I expect her to, I can potentially reveal my posthuman here to block my Shukra and partially defend him. I don't think it'll be a particularly good defense, but it's a possibility that it may help. And the other half of the posthuman here is the hacker, just getting a little bit of line of fire up these stairs. Now, obviously, it's not going to be very good at AROing with just a combi rifle, but it does have 2 wounds, and if I can slow any enemies down at all, that will help, because I've sort of left my actual decoy HVTs exposed, and given that this one is the real one right here, might just take that out of the way. I don't really have much defense because the link team's inside this building, and if I don't bring them back around, I could be in trouble in my follow-up turn. But I do have an entire turn to reposition him, so there is that. Alright, so coming back to this situation here, we do in fact have Uxia McDeal successfully superior infiltrating into this part of the table. She's going to be able to go around here and kill my lieutenant, so I might have to spend a couple of orders getting him out of the way. Okay, so to begin the turn, spending an order from Group 2 on the Dazu, in fact spending his order off the table, moving towards this objective here, and should easily be able to do that. The game plan is to check the easy decoy first. So he's got one of his HVT markers on this side of the table in a position where my link team could easily move up and destroy it. So the plan here is to move the Dazu up to one of the consoles, activate it, check to see if that one over there is the real one. If it isn't, you know, life moves on. But if it is, then I quickly go and destroy it with my data tracker, immediately just grab 5 objective points, which I can't be taken away from me, and enjoy a large lead in the game. So that's what's going on there. I do have to stat a line of sight of a war core, but it's fairly possible to get in there. So Dazu moves through, goes to the button, pulls back, and it turns out my opponent was bluffing. His real designated target actually is, the one that he had on his left flank, which will be easy for me to kill. So the Dazu is successful, and the link team, moves into action. Now, embarrassingly, we had both forgotten to nominate our data tracker, so it's a bit awkward that I've discovered which HVT is the right one before choosing a data tracker. But to be fair, it was highly likely to have been my Diva with MSV2 Sniper, because that's a model with 2 wounds, so I can keep it alive. It's very good at killing enemy designated targets, and if my opponent tries to protect his designated target by throwing a smoke grenade over to it, which he could very easily do, I'm going to need the Diva to kill that. So it would have been a no-brainer either way. On the other hand, he's chosen his Krakow Renegade in the corner to be his designated target, which I really quite liked from my perspective, because it's on opposite sides of the battlefield from my real designated target, so it'll take a while to get there. Okay, so moving out with the team, spending a lot of orders on them. I've got a 10 to roll with. In fact, he decided not to strip an order away from my pool with his command token. He wanted his command token, so I've got 11 orders to spend. So assisted fire goes down onto the HMG. We've got the Ghost Jumper level Z on the sniper here. I've got the data pack on my Diva, and away we go. So they're all rolling forward. So you can sort of see the situation we're in. This model here is actually the revealed designated target. I've got a whole powerful left link team in here. They're basically just going to move up to a point here where they can get an angle onto the HVT and basically just wreck it. To do that, they're going to have to snipe a few Ariadna models, but with 11 orders and an assisted fire HMG and a 5-man link, you'd think that'd be pretty easy. Okay, so here it comes. I'm deliberately keeping the HMG to this side of the battlefield, just because I'm trying to come into line of sight of certain models first without having to, take up arrows with this particular group, if that makes sense. So here we are. So what happens first is that the HMG moves in and manages to get a bit of a snipe, and then we're moving in. So just to be clear about what's happened here, the HMG has moved in to destroy his Ariadna Grunt, which is just sitting there, so the HMG destroys him rather easily. And then we have the crucial moment in the game where the Diva moves to this point and is able to fire, 5 rounds, netting 18s or something crazy at this designated target, and of course destroys it. So we're feeling good. We noted at this point that the SAS would have had a free reaction, so he could have had a free shot at the Diva at long range, but he decided to dodge anyway because he's just trying to get out of range, out of line of fire, because in my very next order I can just start mowing him down with that HMG. So the Link team is a very good position indeed. So we're continuing to move around, we're continuing to get into line of sight of people. He does indeed lose his SAS Trooper, he does lose his Grunt, and then we've actually got a few more targets we can pick up. So at this particular spot here, what I'm trying to do is get a bit greedy, because I've got so many more orders to bring them back. So there's a Cameronian just sticking out, a silhouette's going to be there. There's going to be another model just sticking out here behind this crate. There's also a Walker up the top. So surprisingly, the Diva's actually in a really good spot, even though he's being seen by 3 different ARO pieces. So note that the Cameronian is very, very good at throwing smoke, but that won't matter against MSV2. The Warcore, obviously very good at flash pulsing, but up against, 15s on however many dice the Diva wants to allocate to him. We do have another model nearby, which I believe was an Ermandino or something like that, or maybe a Foxtrot or something like that. So with the Diva just splitting shots between all of them, it's pretty easy to get kills. Okay, here's a better view of what's happening. The Diva's around here and sort of moving back and forward between this spot here and this spot here. Gaining a line of sight not to this thing, but to this Ermandino here, who's out of range for the chain rifle, Cameronian as well, and the Warcore. Now, sometimes things don't go very well when you're only, throwing 1 or 2 dice at your targets, but the Diva does a primo job here. A premium job, I should say, and destroys the Warcore, destroys the Cameronian, which I really like, because I put 3 dice into him. And popped off a shot against Ermandino, and I think does manage to kill him as well. I can't quite remember the exactitudes of that. But after killing, effectively, I think 5 models by the end of the turn, I decided not to be greedy and spend some remaining orders moving the Link team back. So we're on 5 objective points, feeling really, really good at this point. I'm now just setting up arrows to make life hard for the Ariadna player. He will be able to pick apart the Link team now, but I'm content to allow him to do that so long as he does it slowly. So we've got an assisted fire HMG, pretty good arrows there, and a Psara Ghost Jumper level Z on the multi-sniper here with long fire lane down that way. So that's pretty good. Diva with Spitfire and in a 5-man Link here. If it does take damage, it can actually just fall back behind the wall. And of course a Dakini paramedic here who's the Link leader, who can actually see out the door and out this door potentially as well. So there's a bit of a crossfire going on. Oh, and if I didn't mention a Yudbot sitting right behind them to revive them potentially. Okay, this photo will show the Dazu coming back behind cover here and going back into marker state to help protect my my decoy in the middle of the table. Then, because the Shuriken Consultant is in trouble, it's going to move down here and then over here to just put some distance between him and the Uxie McNeil. Having said that, Uxie will probably still be able to gun him down unless he gets into the room. He does not have enough orders to do that. But at this point, I feel like so long as my Link team can just fend off some attacks for the coming turn or the coming 2 turns, I don't really even mind losing my lieutenant at this point. And there he is, just hanging out behind the wall there. Maybe have a little bit of cover, but Uxie, if she is successful in moving across the battlefield and beating the post-human, she will be able to take out my lieutenant. Okay, so Ariadna turn 1. We've got an Ermandino just moving out here. We've got a Krakot Renegade, also impetuous. Nobody can see that. And then the Ermandino spots the fact that, of course, there's a Dakini sniper covering on this area, so he just angles towards this piece of terrain here just to stay in total cover, so he's not jumping out just yet. Then, of course, we have a Foxtrot appearing in the way, and I decided to delay with my post-human here because I figured that if I go for the Discover with the Dakinis, they might get shot by the Foxtrot, but I can at least take him down with the post-human sniper. Now, thinking back to this might have been a bit of a foolhardy decision. Maybe I should have just delayed with everybody and discovered with the post-human, because the post-human probably would have been discovering on a 9, and it doesn't really matter if the Foxtrot shoots me because he would have been minus 12 to hit. So I think this is my first blunder of this particular game. I should have delayed with the Link team and shot with the posthuman, sorry, discovered with the posthuman, because it's more important for me to keep the Dakinis alive. The posthuman is much better at surviving against the Foxtrot because the Foxtrot can't kill him. So unfortunately, the mistake that I made was to delay with the posthuman and shoot with the Dakinis, and that meant the posthuman now shoots at me. Does manage to get a sneaky wound in on the HMG. That means that I temporarily am down a member, so that's not really ideal. Then we have Uxia McNeil just creeping forward. Oh, by the way, the Foxtrot does get hit by the posthuman and dies. That's why you're seeing a posthuman at the bottom right of this image. So Uxia just crawling along the barricades here. Doesn't want to come in line of sight of the Link team just yet. So crawling on, just coming right next to the posthuman sniper. And then is able to crawl around the back of him and basically go for the kill. So what happens here is that I choose to use the nanopulsar because that's going to force her to take a BTS check and give me an above 50% chance of eliminating her, which will really protect me. And then she goes for the shots with the assault pistol, but amazingly doesn't quite kill the posthuman. She is up against total Tio Camo after all, and does strip a wound off him, but he's still standing. So that forces her to go into close combat, fire the assault pistols again, tank another nanopulsar hit, or maybe a close combat attack or something like that, and eventually does carve him up. So posthuman down. That then allows her to move around over here and get into a position where she can stand up and shoot the Shukra. Before doing that though, let's just take a bit of a zoom out and sort of have a look. If she does stand up, there's going to be a flashbulb spot up here. There's going to be the Shukra, maybe dodging or firing a long-range boarding shotgun. This thing has been destroyed by Uxia moving around the corner, so she has eliminated the multi-sniper. She's actually done really, really well. This Diva over here is actually facing the wrong direction, so I won't be able to handle it. So if she stands up now, there's a shot from the Dazu as well, a flash pulse, but that's really about it. So that's what Uxia does indeed go for. Now, at this point, a disaster happens because she fires all of her shots into the Shukra and kills him, so lost a lieutenant for a left. The Dazu fires at Uxia, gets a hit. She tanks the armor save, and that allows her to guts back into cover. So it's even worse now because in my following turn, I won't even be able to shoot her and kill her. That was her last order, so that was the absolute worst outcome. Losing my lieutenant and firing at Uxia with an arrow and not damaging her and putting her back into cover. If that hadn't happened, like if the Dazu had just whiffed the attack, I could have just turned around with the Diva, fired the Spitfire at her, and that would have more than likely have killed her. So now I'm in lost lieutenant, and I still have Uxia in my back line, so that's not great. Dino moving forward as well, going for the console, does hit the button on the console, does connect it, reveals this incorrect HVT, so he's just revealed one of the decoys. But now has to contend with my Dazu here, which has revealed itself to shoot at Uxia. So with Dino moving in, we're basically going nanopulsar versus chain rifle kind of thing. No, sorry, it's combi rifle versus shotgun because he wants to pick up the Dazu and the decoy. What happens here is that he doesn't manage to get the kill, but I think does inflict one wound on the Dazu. And then elsewhere he's just moving models back behind cover because that's the end of the turn. Sorry, note that the Dino does go into close combat with the Dazu by the end of it. Okay, we also have a Cataran moving up on top of the crate, so preparing for the retaliatory left turn. Alright, so you can see these regular orders placed next to the models just to indicate that they are actually not regular orders, they are irregular orders. So first things first, moving out with the Sophatect and the Yudbot and doing some revivals. So reviving the sniper successfully, so bringing back one of my sniper models back alive. Moving over to the Shukra Consultant and unfortunately absolutely flubbing that roll and of course causing him to die. And then I believe later on moving through to revive the HMG as well and picking him up as well. That's going to allow me to reform the Link team, although I don't want to do that just yet because everybody's irregular. I've got a combi rifle here which can fire into close combat against the Dino. Although I'm choosing not to do that initially, I'm just setting up the arrows rather than spending the order to do that. Then it's just a matter of moving certain models out to provide arrows, like a flash pulse here to help protect my two HVTs in the corner. He knows where the real one is roughly located now, so he's narrowed down the possibilities, which is why we're bringing our Apsara out so she can also lend a submachine gun to the ARO effort at this point. I'm really just playing defense. I'm up 5 objective points, so long as I can prevent his data tracker from killing my designated target, I'll probably win. Alright, and then we're basically moving back to Ariadna turn 2, because I'm a Lost Lieutenant. There's not much else I can achieve. So I have reformed the link, though, and I have revived my Dakinis. So with his Galwegian moving out, he's up against an MSV2 Diva in a 5-man link and gets shot and he gets put into Doggett straight away. Over this side, he sees an opportunity with his Spetsnaz, who started here, to move out to the corner. He did have a decoy further down here, which now goes away, but we know what model it is now. So the Spetsnaz moves down to the corner. Great little photo here. So he moves out to the edge, so his silhouette is there, and then back to here. So that's the one short skill. I react with a delay from my Dakini HMG over here, and of course he fires at me with the Spetsnaz. Now, note that's a little bit risky because the Spetsnaz ignores cover but doesn't ignore mimetism. I'm back to a pretty powerful link team now, so the Dakini has some pretty decent odds on 2 dice. So he's at risk of losing his Spetsnaz here, has no doctor whatsoever, but the Spetsnaz does very well. Takes him out. No more Dakini. That allows him to keep moving around and get into a better position where he can just continue into the battlefield and start plugging away at the Dakini with Sniper and the Diva as well. So getting in here, we eventually have a position where, okay, we've knocked out the Dakini HMG. There is a Sniper at the backfield. Once he picks up the right angle, he's going to be able to fire a long ways and take out the Sniper. Again, you know, it's not really the safest thing. Don't even know where I'm wearing my headphones these days. So, not really the safest thing, but he has knocked off the +3 Blister skill. Okay. And then he'll be able to move through and take on the Diva, and the good thing about that is that he's got shock ammunition against the NWI. Now, he's had some pretty good luck so far, but we are moving on to a position where the Cataran is going after the multi-sniper, and this was because he discovered that he couldn't really get into the right angle to take on the multi-sniper with the Spetsnaz. The line of sight didn't really exist the way he wanted it to, so he went with a Cataran surprise shot instead, and finally got a little bit of good luck here and actually hit him with the multi-sniper. So that does take the Cataran down and leaves the multi-sniper intact, which is great. Moving on, he's got another Foxtrot on the roof, moving over until he gets you know, a decent position set up here to fire at the Dakini multi-sniper from a different angle. So once he gets there, as you can see, he's just put his guy on the top of the roof here. The multi-sniper is down on the ground level. And using an Ariadna Scout model with your Jockneck just to represent a Foxtrot, it's a really cool model. I'm pretty sure you guys agree. But that does pretty well, and that does indeed get the kill. And he can continue moving towards the Dakini with combi rifle in the building as well. Okay, back to the Ermendino. Now that he's actually removed a lot of the guys watching the combat, the Ermendino gets to make a few swings at the Dazu, who's not as good as the Ermendino is in close combat. But the Dazu does rather well, tanking an armor save, and after a couple of orders get spent here, the Dazu finally manages to, you know, luckily win a round and retaliates. Gives him a taste of his own medicine. So the Dazu, surprisingly, manages to fend him off and kill the Ermendino. There you go. So he's in NWI, and we still have a decoy available, but I may have also forgotten, too, that there's an opportunity to put a mine down. In fact, we're already on a left turn 3, so my lieutenant's back alive again. I've chosen the CSU as my lieutenant, and I've come up with a plan here. I've got exactly 5 orders in Group 2, even though I started with 6 orders, but I've got exactly 5 orders in Group 2, even though I started with like 11. So the game plan is to try and assassinate the Krakot Renegade data tracker with the Dazu, and then just use all the orders from Group 1 to set up AROs. So because I had more orders than I need to attack the Krakot, given I'm only going to get 1 attempt to shoot him, the Dazu's putting down a mine first, and the thinking there is that later on in the game, he may be moving models through this avenue of the battlefield to go after my designated target, but having a mine there will be useful. So the Dazu places a mine first, then goes back into camo marker mode, then comes to this point in the battlefield here, before spending a final order to move to this specific spot, where he's going to be within 16 inches of the Krakot. Krakot doesn't get cover because it's impetuous, and it's just going to be able to mow into him with 3 dice. And obviously surprise attack, TO camo. So there's the Dazu there. Krakot, unfortunately, tanks the armor save and lives. So the Dazu takes a mine hit from this mine here and dies. But that play was definitely well worth it, because if the Krakot had died there, that would have been basically GG. You know, just straight up game over. But as luck would have it, that didn't happen. Over here, we've got the Sophitek again providing more value by going in and again reviving some of the Dakinis. I'm running out of command tokens here, but at least I think the combi rifle guy is revived. And that's going to allow me to set up just more AROs, more roadblocks, so to speak, for that Krakot who wants to come over to my side of the battlefield. Bit of a look here where I can't really reform a link team, but we've got a Sophitek in there. Again, Sophitek position just to put a few fire lanes throughout the door. And we've got the CSU and the Krakot both in position to defend later on. So that's about all I could really achieve. He's got one final turn where he can move out with the Spetsnaz, but the problem here is that he's got no other specialists in position to go and press the buttons that he needs to press. So although he's got a bunch of orders left, there's no way that he can actually press the button, guess the right HVT, and go and kill it with the data tracker all in the same breath. So to round out the game, he really just simply comes in there with the Spetsnaz to attempt to kill my HVT. He's able to do that from by coming out of range of the mine, just somewhere over here-ish, and firing it at the HVT and killing it. The designated, well, it's not the designated target, it's a decoy. But that basically ends the game, where he's killed one of the decoys. I've only killed the real designated target, which is what you want to do. Uxia tries to go in for a bit of a last hurrah, but doesn't really achieve anything. And we have a fairly decisive win for OSS. So I think that being able to go first was a big advantage. Remember that all of the ITS missions are in these 2 big sort of categories, where category number 1 is where the objectives are basically, belonging to one player or the other, or the lion's share of them are. So a mission where it's like safe area or transmission matrix or supplies, only one player is going to be able to get the majority of the objectives, and that is determined by the end of the game. So that's where you want to go second. If it's a game where it's a race, like both players are equally capable of getting all of the objectives, you want to go first and get there quicker and get your defenses in position to prevent your opponent from doing the same thing quicker. So missions like Unmasking or the Grid or supplies, I suppose. I included supplies in the last example, but take that out and bring it into this one. So this is in the secondary category of objective missions, where going first can be better, because you have the chance to complete that objective before your opponent has the opportunity to assassinate your data tracker, for example. And because of the exclusion zone, there are less roadblocks and obstacles to going and pressing the buttons, if you guys know what I mean. So a pretty big win to OSS. Really like this list. I don't think this is an invincible list. Obviously, like any other infiNity army, it has weaknesses, but I want to start to get better and better at playing it. I think it's very well rounded, and that main link team has a lot of potential. We're in a bit of a meta at the moment where the newest, toys out there are like Helots and Kamau snipers and link teams, and the new Invincible Army stuff. There are a lot of really powerful AROs out there, and the one model in the game which is probably the best at killing ARO pieces at the moment is the Dakini HMG with assisted fire and a 5-man link team. So that's what the Sectorial can bring. That's what we're gunning for at the moment. But on top of that, you've got the OP posthumans, you've got the Dazu and so forth. So it's just really, really strong. Counterintelligence, great as well. Alright, we'll leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed this bat rep. I enjoyed bringing it to you as always. We'll have some more Tabletop Simulator and obviously real life games soon, so stick out for it.